Thank you for watching this Last Mile Profits video. Chinese carriers are really looking carefully at Europe. Keep watching to find out why.
Last Mile Profits is brought to you by Parcel Pending by Quadient.
So Gary, I was talking to a friend of mine on the QT, and he told me that SF Express, does that say anything to you?
I'll be honest with you, up until about 4 minutes ago, I'd never bloody heard of them. But that's my ignorance of the wider carrier world that you never really hesitate to humble me with. So go for it.
So, all right. So, for the benefit of everyone, SF Express is actually the biggest courier express parcel company in China. I understand they've got, we need to check this, but I think they have more planes than FedEx. They're huge. In terms of numbers, probably if you're talking about, Cainiao or something, it's a bit different. But a classic carrier type player, that is them. Apparently, they are really looking carefully at Europe. Could be, Gary. We recorded a video earlier on, the various tariff issues with the US. So that could be part of the reason. But hey, Gary, it's not only them. JD.com just announced that they're buying MediaMarkt and Saturn, which are not last mile companies. I think it shows their interest in Europe. And JD.com is, for those who are not initiated, I think about the size of Ali in China. And then we know that Cainiao and Alibaba are doing their own stuff. So, Gary, are the Chinese going to flood Europe now?
You're speaking to like it might be in the future, but I think it's in the present. I don't think they're going to flood Europe in the future. I think it's happening now. Now, we did a tariff video talking about, the challenges of getting stuff into the States and what have you. And we did another one a few months back where our speculation was that the Chinese will simply turn their attention to Europe. If the barriers go up around the US, they'll go to Europe. There was a great interview with I think it's the Chinese Trade Minister, even the president, and he said, "Well, US is only 30% of the global market for us. Who cares? If we'll ride it out. They weren't going to be intimidated by the trading environment there, and maybe for once, you and I were able to use our crystal ball and be correct that that's exactly what's happening."
And to be honest, Europe has turned out to be a slightly softer target, I'd suggest, to Mr. Trump. But the Chinese, I think you're right. We were pretty accurate with our crystal ball. So where could it take us? So let's think about it. SF, if they come, it's going to be really hard from day one to set up full networks. So it's going to have to be partnerships. Let's take our crystal ball to the next stage. How could they do it? What do you reckon?
Well, this is a classic McKinsey supply chain play, isn't it? So if you've got 4 or 5 steps in the supply chain, the more of them you remove, the more the origination of the products is directly connected to the consumer, the more of that money flows back to the origination of the products. It's very, very difficult to turn something upside down and not see made in China on the bottom of it, on a clothing label. So we know that's where the stuff is coming from. So how many people touch it before it lands through my letterbox or on my doorstep or onto the shelves of a store? So that I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, okay, but let's think how they could do it. So I'm thinking the following. First of all, it has to be partnership. So they'd have to probably talk to carriers and posts in Europe to cooperate. So effectively at the beginning.
I totally disagree because I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to get rid of all of that. They're realizing that they've got, if you can make a living in the UK delivering 100, 200 million parcels a year, like some of the sort of the smaller, we talked about the big 3, the big 4 before. The others have got viable businesses doing a couple of 100 million parcels a year. Why wouldn't they go direct? The gig economy is huge in some markets.
Yeah, but Gary, hold on. Totally agreed. But today they have nothing. Without infrastructure, you can't do this. So what can they do? They either partner or buy. Greenfield, it's going to take a bit of time.
JD.com built a 1 million square foot warehouse in Northampton. So it's possible.
Yeah, but even, I was part of the team setting up Amazon, but you have to get the DSPs, you have to get them on board, you have to get the infrastructure, and you start with partnerships, and then you slowly start supplementing those partners with your own capabilities. So, all right, I'm going to challenge you because this time I'm going to say I disagree with you. And I reckon what will happen They're going to have to find partnerships. The thing I'm not sure about is where it will be. Do they go for someone big with wide coverage? Because that's the easy thing, to go for somebody like DPD Group, who cover most of Europe. Or do they go for local heroes? My feeling is they're going to go for local heroes because it's easier to get a good deal. And effectively, they're going to, step one, they'll be a bit like a very, very big parcel broker. They can control the parcels coming to and from Europe, but they're going to need someone who's going to be, and they might even sort out the clearance themselves, but they're going to need someone then who's going to ship around the continent. And then step two, I think they're going to have to buy something, because setting up from scratch, unless it's a very small market, is going to be very difficult.
I kind of get it, and I think that's a kind of the traditional way of working. But they could potentially just dump all of that, leave their existing arrangements in place, go and put something huge in place themselves, and remove these steps in the supply chain, and just really go for a hyper consolidated model and go for direct delivery. It's if you can piggyback other courier networks or go and recruit your own gig economy, why wouldn't you do that? And in terms of what's for sale, I mean, everything's been bought and sold in the last year and a half. What's left to buy and sell, apart from something huge? Are the French government going to sell Geopost? I don't think so.
Not in a hurry. But then, Gary, I would argue, we can see what our listeners think. Comment below. Is Gary right? Or is Marek right? I reckon that they're going to have to partner up at the beginning. I agree with you, there's not much to buy, but, let's watch this space. And I agree with you that they are going to set up their own competence. But as I said, Amazon was a perfect example. It didn't take decades, but it took a couple of years to build a big enough business to be completely independent. And even then, if you look at Amazon Logistics UK, which is probably their biggest business unit in terms of logistics or last mile in Europe, they still work with carriers because they can never take the risk that they're going to be completely dependent on one carrier, even if it's their own in-house one. So,
Yeah, you're right.
dear viewers, comment below. What, did I hear that right? You are right. Okay, guys and girls, comment below. Really interested in your views. And as a bonus, what I'll try and do, I have a really good buddy who happens to be pretty senior at JD.com. So maybe we'll be able to record a short snippet that we can add to this video. We'll keep you posted if we can, but if not, comments below. And Gary, as usual, a pleasure.